Hello and welcome back to SweetSpotDFS. This is a review for the 2020 Travelers Championship where Dustin Johnson is your winner. But before we get into the video, I like to remind you, as I do in all of my videos, that you can watch us in a faster speed and make life easier. If you're on desktop, drag your mouse anywhere on the screen, over my face, anywhere on here. You'll find a gear icon somewhere down here. Drill down on that, you'll find playback speed. I prefer 1.5, but if you were to watch us in 2x speed, it'll cut the video in half. You can find this also on mobile, top right corner. You'll find 3 dots that make a straight line. Drill down that, you can find playback speed. I will also have timestamps in the description, so you can get to any part of the video you find interesting or important. Okay, let's go ahead, get into this the spreadsheet. I have the results page up right now. We'll go over some of this fairly quickly. Dustin Johnson won this very easily. His Sunday round, he did not look like he was wavering one bit. Streelman had some opportunities on 17 and 18 to make birdie. Left his putt on 17 short. Didn't see the result on 18, but obviously he didn't make birdie. DJ ended up bogeying 16 before Streelman hit his putt on 17. So, I mean, there could have been a potential for a tie after those holes, but again, Streelman kind of faded there at the end. But a very good showing by Streelman. Much like Mackenzie Hughes. Like, I had nothing on Mackenzie Hughes this week that would have indicated anything good, but he did do well. Streelman, going back to Streelman, he had said that this is one of his favorite courses. I think it was somewhere on the broadcast, Nance or Faldo had said something about how Streelman likes one of the 9s on this course. And he played really well on Sunday on one of those 9s. I don't remember which one it was. I won't lie, I wasn't listening completely. I was doing a bunch of different things. That's primarily why the video is out a little bit later. But, you know, with this being Streelman's favorite course, it's good to know for future, you know, let's put it this way, if he comes out during our like when we create our models and he's one of the top guys, like definitely do not waver from playing him. Great course fit. Again, he likes this course, but as every year goes by, he becomes 1 year older, meaning, and he's more on I hate saying this about a 40-year-old, but he's more on the decline when it comes to his PGA strength. If he starts losing distance, this is going to make it harder for him to get to his scoring irons that allows him to shoot lower. And that obviously applies to anyone who gets older. You know, we know the story with Phil Mickelson. He hits bombs. That's all he's trying. That's all he's worried about right now is just hitting the ball further. But he obviously is lacking in accuracy, and we don't see Phil on the top 20 leaderboard. I think that's primarily because of age. Like, his fatigue factor probably played in pretty largely. He was leading this tournament after 36 holes, and he wasn't that far behind after 54 holes. But obviously, we don't see him in the top 20. So, not sure what happened there, but, you know, very interesting leaderboard to say the least. Let's go ahead and get in the 2020 recent form tab. This is where I have the optimal lineup and Millie Maker lineup. You can see the Millie Maker lineup is highlighted in blue. So we have golfers. The Millie Maker lineup had Dustin Johnson in it, Will Gordon, Bryson DeChambeau, Brendan Steele, Patrick Cantlay, and Doc Redman. And don't mind me, I gotta make a quick adjustment. I just saw my image flicker, which usually means my, like, I think it's my white balance is off. So let's see. Can I get to that? Oh, now I'm making it worse. All right, we'll see if this works out. Hopefully it does. Anyways, so we have Dustin Johnson, Will Gordon, Bryson DeChambeau, Brendan Steele, Patrick Cantlay, and Doc Redman as the Millie Maker lineup. It scored 656 points. Used up a salary of 49,700. Now, as you can see on the screen, the optimal lineup used up 41,900. When I was making lineups with the new system that I have in place, I won't lie, I had a lot of lineups that were leaving a ton of money on the table. I didn't feel comfortable doing that. I just couldn't. I couldn't put my mind to it. But what this shows is perhaps it's not a bad idea to do that. And I think a lot of it has to do with just it was soft pricing like it has been in the past. Primarily because you had Webb Simpson that was supposed to play in this tournament. You had Brooks Koepka that was supposed to play in this tournament. We had a lot of, higher price salary guys, or at least higher price salary than some of the other guys in the top 10. So I think that played a huge factor into why the optimal lineup was so small. Interesting to keep that in mind going forward, as if, this COVID-19 thing really messes up with roster construction, primarily because when you take two guys that were 8,500 and above off of the roster, you don't have many differences in lineups that you can build with golfers over 8,500. You're going to see a lot of the same, but it also, you remove two, high quality golfers from the field, it brings into play a lot of these lower price guys. And of course, DraftKings can't make the salary adjustments, on the fly. Once they post it, that's what it is. So anyways, 41,900, it's odd. It's weird. I don't think it's really much to look into. I wouldn't look that much further into it. But yeah, it was definitely interesting. So that's all I have to say about the differences between the optimal lineup. Oh, I will say this. Millie Maker lineup 656, optimal lineup was 695. That's a 39.5 point difference. And really, you could have gotten on a lot of these golfers. I think we'll look at that on the DraftKings page, and we'll do it right now. I obviously advocate for the bucket system. It is my strategy in building lineups. It's my shtick when it comes to trying to provide players for you guys to play. And it played well into this. So obviously, anything that you see with a dark green color, that means go. I do all of my rankings and I color code them based off of the stoplight colors, basically. Dark green, the darker the green is, the more you want to play them, the lighter the green. I was going to say lighter the color too, but that's not true. But obviously you get closer to red, you don't want to play a lot of those red golfers. And we'll review each of those buckets because you're going to see a lot of golfers that you probably would have played, but maybe not if you saw the bucket system and the color coding that went with it. Obviously, Brendan Steele found his way inside the top 6. He was a part of the Millie Maker lineup. He was also part of the optimal lineup. So you did want to play. Oh, not a 6. He was last year 5. You did want to play. Oh, I don't know if I said. Never mind. I think I said 6th place. But he was the last year 5. But he was the last week 1, which the last week 1s played a huge factor in success. Well, I should say most years. Now this is obviously a different year because of COVID. It was interesting to see the results. Anyways, but yeah, if we were constructing a lineup looking at all this, I think obviously Dustin Johnson, Bryson DeChambeau, boom, we put them right together, 20,400, and then I think it's just if we were to go 7-1, 7-1, and then I wouldn't have been on Mackenzie Hughes, but let's go with Will Gordon. Now we have 10,200 left, which means we can't play Rory, but we could play Patrick Cantlay. We can't play Patrick Cantlay because I can't do math. We can play Abraham Answer. So, in that case, we would have had a last year 1, a last year 2, a last year 1, a last year 1, a last year 2, and a last year 2. So, we're only using last year 1s and 2s to create our lineups this way. Which, if we were doing it that way, how many points would we have scored? 669. We would have taken down the Millie Maker, which, eventually we'll get to a lineup like this. I basically created, if you were in the lineup construction video, I basically did a randomization when it comes to the lineups, and I'll show you. Actually, I'll show you right now what we ended up doing. So these columns over here I ended up looking at how often did we see the last year or the last week bucket, how often we saw the last year bucket inside the top 10 over the last 6 years. And basically, okay, so there's a notes page that I have all this information. And I realized during my preview or my lineup construction video, you couldn't really see it. But I used these percentages over here. So DJ was a last week 5. So he finished 1 through 20th last week. That was a 6% chance. Or not a 6% chance. There was a 6 of the player pool that finished inside the top 10 over the last 7 years. 6% of them were in that last week bucket. So what I ended up doing is, I guess I'll pull up the calculator if it'll show up. I created 100 lineups. So out of 100 lineups, there are 6 spots per lineup. So that's 600. If I was to use 600 and times it by that 6.95, which is 0.0649, not 95. I don't know what I was saying. We'll get to 38.94. I think that's the number I had for DJ, right? 38. So 39. Yeah. So that's how we get to that 39 number. What I did with that then is I averaged the two numbers out because I did the same thing with the last year bucket. Average the two numbers to get this right here. And all this is doing is like, this is a confidence rating. This isn't anything of how often I should play anybody or anything like that. I had a confidence rating of 102.5. And of that, what I ended up doing is, so 102.5, I think I divided that by 600, got a percentage, 17%, and I times that by 200. Now 200, I was reserving 200 roster spaces or positions. So 34, is that even right? Oh, I know what I did. Okay, so don't mind. What I ended up doing is, first of all, part of my process that I've been doing lately is I have been trying to determine, based off of salary, how often we see certain golfers inside the top 10. If we were to look, here's the results here, just so you guys are paying attention. And here are the salaries. So when we look at the salaries of, say, the top 19, how many golfers do you see over $8,500? I see Patrick Cantlay, I see Bryson DeChambeau, and I see Dustin Johnson and Abraham Ancer. So I've got 4 golfers out of 19 that are 8,500 and above. How many golfers do I... And I determined that tier 1 for me was 86 and above. Primarily because if you were to take the salaries from 86 and 8,600. So it was Sung J M. If you took Sung J M and you grabbed every golfer right below him, you never skipped a golfer. So you had 86, you had 85, and actually let's do that. Let's sort by that salary. So you had 86, 85, 84. I am missing golfers. How come? Oh yeah, my missed cuts. For whatever reason, I had the missed cuts out. Okay. So you have 86, 85, 84, 83, 82, 81. That ends up being 50,100. No matter what, yeah, I know you guys could be like, well, you just go to 8,000. Well, the thing is, I want to create this salary model easier because if I can't put, 6 golfers in a row on a lineup, I'm just going to straight up say that is my cutoff for tier 1. So your tier 1 salary golfers are 86 and above. And that's probably going to be true every year or every week, unless there are gaps within these salaries here. But that's what we'll do with tier 1. I think that worked out fine. It worked out fantastic, honestly. And I think you want higher ownership on these golfers anyways. The only argument that I would hear was maybe you wanted to go 9,000 and above. That's tier 1. I could hear that argument. And I might do that. I'm going to tweak this a little bit, determining on findings that I have. But yeah, I mean, you have a lot of golfers in that tier that finish inside the top 20. So it was definitely something to keep in mind. And again, you want higher ownerships of these golfers anyways. They have the best odds. DraftKings doesn't really mess around when it comes to creating these salaries, so it works out. Tier 2 then, what I ended up doing was basically, I made it really easy. It was 8,500 down to 7,000. So actually 7,100. 7,000 and below ended up being tier 3. So when it comes to results, we had 4 golfers in tier 1. Now 7,100 and above would be tier 2. Or not 71 and above. 71 to 85 would be tier 2. And I'm not going to really look. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to really look any further. I guess 11th place is fine. We'll keep 11th place. I was going to say top 6, but we'll go 11th. So there's only 3 golfers in that tier. But there's, 3 golfers nonetheless. And then we had a bunch of golfers in tier 3. This is the most surprising thing I've seen in a very long time, seeing that many golfers inside the top 20 that were 7,000 and below, or below 7,000. That is insane. I don't think we'll see this again for most tournaments, but I will again continuously analyze this and determine the best strategies in constructing lineups. But I thought that was really interesting. Minus that, I like to look at tee times and see if any of the golfers in the top, basically the top 10, golfed with each other. We really don't see it. I mean, you had Dustin. Dustin had played with Colin Morikawa and Jordan Spieth. So, I mean, I'm going to find those guys down here a little bit further. I mean, Morikawa missed the cut. That was his first missed cut. Where is Jordan Spieth? What happened to him? Wow. So he had a bad Sunday, apparently. So there's Jordan Spieth. DJ actually didn't really play that well Thursday. He played well on Friday. Well, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but I'm not sure what kicked him into gear, but I would assume playing with someone like Jordan Spieth, maybe not the greatest. It doesn't seem like that group would talk that much, which may have also hindered all playing competitors in that group, which is interesting to think about and to keep track of. But anyways, I didn't see anyone that was paired up, which is interesting because the last 2 weeks we had at least 6 golfers that I could highlight. Obviously, we had like 3 groups of 2, essentially. This week, I don't see anything. I'll do a quick scan over yet again. Okay, so never mind. Right away, I changed my tune. I see one pairing. Yeah, I can't believe I didn't see that in the first comb over. But anyways, so you had 1 pairing. I guess we have 2 down here a little further. Now it's all I can see everything. Okay, so not much there. Let's go ahead. I'm gonna hide all of this information here. You can look at odds. You can look at ownership, or not ownership. Official World Golf Ranking. We can look at all that stuff. But I'm going to go ahead and hide all of this information. And I'm gonna hide last year, last week, because that's kind of in. I mean, you guys can take a look, but that my buckets over here would indicate that. And if you watch the lineup construction video, you would also see it there. So as we were looking, we wanted to find golfers that had really just any course history. If I recall from our lineup construction video, you can see a bunch of golfers that had kind of poor course history, but they've played here before. So Will Gordon, the only one that has not played inside the top 6. Inside the top 11, you had Doc Redman also joining that mix, but everyone else had course history. And we were also looking for golfers that had good recent form, primarily better than 72. So like Patton Kizzire and Ryan Armour didn't match that, but yet they still found themselves inside the top 6. So interesting to note, or interesting to see that. I'm going to go ahead, hide last year, last week, and we're going to go and talk about all of the stats now. So if you were with me in 2019 and 2018, or I should say, if you're with me during the preview video, you'd have saw me go through all these stats. And basically what I was trying to do is, of the top 20 golfers with course history, how many of them finished inside the top 10? And you know, I basically did the count. Obviously in 2020 we had 2. I believe in 2019 we had 3 or 4, and then we also had something similar in 2018. Can't remember where my notes are. Oh well. If I were to do that with recent form, we have a lot of golfers with the best recent form in the top 20. Really only 2 golfers finished inside the top 10. I know we have a couple golfers here with the top 11, so we should probably include them anyways. And then also we do the same thing with Pete Dye. We look at the top 20 golfers with Pete Dye. Bryson DeChambeau. We'll include top 11 because obviously that's really close to top 10. We had a lot of golfers there. We had 6 golfers. And then we also want to do the same thing with POA. We have 3 right away at the top. We had 4 total. So basically, when we did this also, or when I looked at 2019, 2018, we saw the same things. And I obviously think that's interesting. If I were to go ahead and go by result, I mean, you're just going to see a bunch of different, like, that's pretty good overall POA stats. Now, I kind of found out, I mean, when Streelman was talking about this golf course and why he enjoyed it, he was talking about how great the bent grass greens are. So I'm assuming that we should probably be looking at bent grass. I think what I'll do is update the spreadsheet to put bent grass stats on and then analyze it even further, just to check once again to see how things look. But yeah, I think that's interesting because the POA splits actually show up really well. Overall die stats, only 3 golfers really had poor die stats. And I think when I did my filters, we were grabbing the top 20. So I think it was like 30, 35, yeah, 35, then 40 and 40. So if I were to put those filters on and say less than or equal to, I think it was 30, right? And then we put a filter on this, and this was less than or equal to 35. Like, we already kind of run out on players. But Rory and Bryson did well. I was really high on Paul Casey. Neither of these guys finished inside the top, or they weren't a part of the optimal lineup. So I don't really like to talk about golfers who didn't find the optimal lineup, so I'm not going to. However, basically what I ended up doing with all of these stats that I've been showing you is I created a tally of how many times they finished top 20 in these stats that I just went over. I also did for, if I were to go ahead and hide this information, I also did it with tee to green. So obviously, if once I start highlighting these tee to green stats, you're going to see, you know, you're going to find all these numbers up here. I can't believe Harold Varner wasn't up. Oh, I actually didn't do by tee to green or off the tee. All I did was up. It was just those 4 categories. But I should have included tee to green as well as off the tee, because off the tee was one of those stats that was very telling of success here. And obviously you have Dustin that shows up there. You have Bryson that is also up there. When it came to roster construction, you really couldn't put anyone besides maybe Will Gordon. And Will Gordon, interestingly enough, 6,200 had 2 stats. You know, I think it was POA, and I believe it was course history or recent form, that he was in the top 20 for those stats. Coincidentally, he finished 3rd place. So it actually paid off pretty well. If I go ahead and sort by the stats here, I mean, you see a pretty even mix of missed cuts and top 11s. You do see the winner in there, and we do see a 6th place guy. I mean, minus that, we really wouldn't want to play other than maybe Will Gordon. Well, yeah, obviously Will Gordon, but a lot of these other golfers we really couldn't get on. But we could have obviously, we could have created a Bryson, Patrick Cantlay, and Dustin Johnson lineup, which would have left us with $29,800. Nope, that's wrong. $19,800 left over, which then we just put a bunch of 6K golfers in there. And obviously Will Gordon would have been one of them. I don't know why I sorted it by that. Will Gordon would have been one of them at 62. So if we were to pair 62, 94, Patrick Cantlay. So now I can almost spend $7,000 on a player. I'm going to put Kevin Streelman. That leaves us with now $6,500 left. Obviously, we go to Mac Hughes, but I'm going to say I wouldn't have played Mac Hughes. I would have played someone like Scott Stallings. So that would have been a pretty dynamite lineup. But if we were to go by, you know, I guess if we were to do this the way that I was thinking of, we probably would play Doc Redman because he's got 1 in that stat, which would leave us with $6,900 left, and Brendan Steele. So that also works out if we went by these stats. And I mean, it's a hell of a way to think about creating a lineup. Makes things interesting when creating them. And again, I did pretty well when it came to actually creating lineups that way. So I am just going to go really quickly through the bucket review. We always start with our last year ones. We had 9 golfers inside the top 20, which is fantastic. We should see last year ones, you know, that many times. If we were to look at last week ones, this number should have been higher, but again, it's an interesting season so far. We have a lot of golfers who would never have golfed this tournament golfing it. But well, I should say this, most of them played last week that were here at this tournament. So we weren't going to have a lot of last year ones, I don't believe. We had 38 total, which I think in most years we have near 50 to 60. So it gives us more golfers to choose from. I really didn't look at the last week bucket, so I'm not really going to talk about it. I don't know why I actually did. So anyways, so last year bucket, oh yeah, we'll go by results and then we'll go by here. But you can see all the different bucket combinations that went with it. And then you can see some of the stats that kind of come into play. So obviously we could have been on a lot of these golfers, no problem. We'll go down to last year 2s, and we had 4 golfers that finished inside the top 20. Now, we didn't have a very big group of golfers within this bucket range. So really picking 4 golfers out of it should have been pretty easy. And you obviously could have got on any of these guys. If we go to the notes page and look at our last year 2s, up here, 21% of the last 6 years, 21% of the golfers in those, I should say, in that bucket, were last year 2s. As we look at the 20, I should actually even scroll all the way over here so we can see really for me, my confidence. This is how many out of 100 lineups that I was going to create, or I was going to put these players in. And I think I did pretty close to that. If I were to scroll over to my ownership, I did play Kevin Streelman in 7 lineups. I can't remember who these guys were, but I mean, I kind of went overboard on some of these golfers. And why don't I go ahead and hide some of this information so we can see that? Okay. Let me scroll all the way back up to the top and go over this again. You can see my ownership here on the golfers I liked. Again, like I said, this process got me on a lot of good golfers, and I made a lot of really good lineups. Believe it or not, I played 1 Will Gordon. I was a bit skeptical because I didn't think much about that. I didn't play any Zach Johnson because I was not confident in that either. But for the most part, I did play a lot of these guys. So then as I scroll down, you can also see my ownership compared to how many times that my system told me to play these golfers. I wasn't really keen on a lot of them, but like Shane Lowry, I didn't really care. I didn't think too much about him, but I did play him in 6 lineups. But anyways, like, you know, missed cuts here. Scotty Scheffler, I played him in 20 different lineups. That's not good. I think I was saying this in the preview. The pivot to make for the last week one was from Scotty Scheffler to Kevin Na. Kevin Na was up here, but so was Sung Yul No, which I had seen Sung Yul No. Obviously, I played him in one lineup. I was surprised, you know, the 1-1. I wasn't sure if I wanted to play him all that often or all that much, but I couldn't play him in 2 lineups. I just could only play him in 1. But yeah, I'll go through this kind of quickly. So last year 2s, you can see 4 guys obviously finished inside the top 11, and my ownership here pretty good. I'm also not disappointed in Paul Casey, especially for his salary, $8,900, 32 times, not going to hurt me. And then none of these guys really hurt me for playing them. We had 5 golfers who were last year 3s finish inside the top 20. A lot of these guys were in the lower tier. They're all tier 3 golfers. So obviously I didn't play a lot of tier 3 golfers, but as you can see, all but Lucas Glover I played at least once of, or one of. Phil was like my big last year 3. I just felt like at his price and what caliber of golfer he is, I just thought it was ridiculous what his price was at. So I played a lot of him. Again, I was doing really well. I did well, but I was doing even better when Phil was near the top of the leaderboard. He obviously fell to 24th. Didn't really hurt. He made a lot of birdies, so he made a lot of DK points. So it was good. But yeah, we can see the rest of the guys here. I think I played a little bit more of Jordan Spieth just because I felt like at his price he fits really well in a lot of lineups, and he was doing decent until the weekend. And so I don't know what happened there. Benny Ann, I played really close to the lineups that the system told me to, but I couldn't really get on him that much. He did look good after 2 rounds, or after 3 rounds, I think. But yeah, the Sunday round wasn't that great. The only thing that really surprising here is Tony Finau. I played him 5 more times than the system told me to, just because I had a hunch that he was going to do well. And again, that 8,200 actually was like the $8,000 range altogether when I was creating lineups. I just had holes to fill, and this price made it comfortable with how much salary I had left over. So that's why I played more. But yeah, I should have probably just stuck to the 7 times that the system told me to. Nothing really outrageous, you know, when it comes to how much I should play these guys. I didn't play any Mac Hughes or Ryan Armour because the last week bucket 6s didn't really show up. I mean, this is the lowest score when it comes to the last week scores. The 5s were really close, but like this is way too low. I didn't want to play anybody. So obviously I didn't get on anyone like that. But Victor Hovland and Joel Damon, to me, not bad plays. Obviously, you would want a 3rd place and a 6th place. I'm actually going to open this up because I should have just kept this information. That way we can actually kind of compare what my ownership was to the Millie Maker ownership, and then see if we were like, you know, I feel like the industry would call them sharps, basically. So obviously Ryan Armour, how did I own them? Never mind. I see. I got a little confused there. What should I hide? I'm gonna go ahead and hide this. Actually, I'll hide this. That way you can see the player count. Okay, so obviously I did play one lineup of Ryan Armour. It told me not to. I think Ryan Armour, I just, for whatever reason, it looked good. So we were overweight on the Millie Maker ownership, which I'm just making this stuff up now. I didn't play that much of Victor Hovland compared to other golfers, but that's fine. And I mean, as you can see, like a lot of these other golfers, it didn't really tell me to play a lot of them. Bubba Watson, I played 10 lineups of. I didn't get sunk like a lot of people did, like 15%. This is a good number, obviously, to go off of. We did not lose that one. We would, you know, you want that much Victor Hovland. And like these are pretty much the same numbers. So anyways, 5s, last year 5s, as you can see, I mean, it's not a very big pool. But you had JT, Colin Morikawa, Sung JM, Mark Leishman, Patrick Reed, who did make a really good charge on Sunday. Those golfers are near tier 2. Well, I mean, they're all tier 1 golfers except for Mark Leishman. as you can see, what the system produced over here, out of 100 lineups, this is how much we should have played them. Now, I wish I would have stuck on that with some of these guys. Like JT, I should have just kept him at 8 because I mean, I kind of had the fear of missing out. Everyone else was touting him. Everyone liked him. The stats even kind of came out to like Justin Thomas. As I was watching Justin Thomas, what I could tell you, what I saw, the guy the guy couldn't putt, first of all. But then he also was not hitting his iron. He did not look like he had very good control of his irons. And it wasn't windy, so it wasn't like there was any issue with the environment. He just was not playing well. But yeah, the system really got me on these guys. And as you can see, my ownership compared to the Millie Maker, like, this is all awesome. This is me winning against these other guys. Obviously, I should have played a little bit more Patrick Reed, but Patrick Reed at 24th place wasn't winning anyone a Millie Maker. So this was awesome. This was really cool that I was able to kind of reap those rewards. And obviously, I didn't play anyone that were 6s. As you can see, 6s, again, didn't finish inside the top 10, top 20. For those that are making like proclamations that Bo Hosler was a sharp play, I don't see how. Don't even see. I mean, maybe ownership-wise. I mean, I think Bo Hosler is a decent play most of the time. He used to be, I should say. But these numbers are based off of 127 lineups that I created. I mean, I went over 100. So obviously, yeah, you can see numbers aren't all that great. I was a little higher percentage than what I should have, but when you make 30 more lineups, I think it's probably actually right on par when it comes to that. And maybe I should think about I like doing it by 100 lineups. That's fine. No worries. I'm not going to think much more about that. Kevin Na, we were overweight on Kevin Na. That's awesome to see. We weren't overweight on Doc Redman, but that was difficult because Doc Redman was just a favorite play of a lot of people. But I did play 6 as opposed to the 1 that the system told me to play him in. Rory, we were basically same level. Same with Xander when it came to the Millie Maker lineups. Rom, we were a little overweight, which is a little unfortunate. Sergio, pretty close to the same level. And this is all, again, from the system. Scott Scheffler, we played the same amount. That was me going way overboard. I could have easily been under. And allocated that to some other golfers like more Kevin Na. Because he was the pivot that I would have made going from Scotty Scheffler to Kevin Na. They're not the same price, but they're both 1-1s, and I would much rather just pivot to another 1-1 around his price range. So, but yeah, that is the conclusion of my review. I thought the system was awesome, and I'm going to continue to explore this and try to find more optimal ways to create lineups based off of it. I thought it was great. I mean, I can't wait to create another lineup construction video to go over it again, because like I said, it worked out. I made a $12 profit. I put in like $65 and made $77. So it was awesome. My Millie Maker lineup had Bud Colley in it, and I finished inside the top 5,000 for lineups on the Millie Maker, my one bullet that I had in it. And unfortunately, that withdraw after round 1 really didn't add many points for me. So that kind of stunk. I think Bud Colley did the right thing, but it just like, man, I really had a good chance to win some decent money in that contest. But we'll look forward to the Rocket Mortgage Classic, where we can use this again. We're unfortunately not going to have like really good bucket system scores because that was a new tournament last year. We won't have any last year buckets, but we could probably provide a similar, because this is going to, most of these stay the same. Your last, like 1st through 20 is going to always be near buckets 1, 2, or 3. Your did not plays will always be buckets 1, 2, 3. And same with your missed cuts. So we'll probably put that into the bucket system next week and find out our favorite golfers based off of that. But yeah, enjoyed this week. Enjoyed doing the lineup construction. Hopefully you guys did well. And I can't wait to do this again at the Rocket Mortgage Classic. All right, guys. See you later.